Hello there, and welcome to the Grüns product review. The product everyone's talking about, especially since the last month when they got acquired. Everyone's talking about their branding, their marketing, their sales, their retail distribution, how nice of a guy the founder is, but no one's talking about the product, the formula. So that's what I'm here today to do for you. If you haven't seen my videos before, my name is Christian Baker. I'm the founder and CEO of Profound Formulas. I help companies make supplements that actually do something for your customers so they can feel something and they want to come back and stay subscribed time and time again. And in these product review videos, I help go through and examine popular supplements in the world, break down things for you to let you know what they're doing well, what they could be doing better, and how you can beat them if you would like to compete against them. So here we go today with Grüns. So I'm not going to comment on all the beautiful visuals and all these things because everyone else in their dog has done that. What we're going to do is go straight to the part that has the truth, which is what we want. Here's a supplement facts panel. It's a little bit soft here, so we're going to zoom in. You can't see my face anymore, but don't worry, I'm still here for you. So this is the label of Grüns Original. So this first panel, we've got a broad breakdown of vitamins and minerals. And obviously on the macronutrient side, you can see there's 15 grams of carbs, but remember American labels include fiber included in the carb count. So there's 6 grams of fiber here. So this 15 grams is really only 9 grams of carbs. 8 of those are sugar. So obviously this is a gummy. There's going to be sugar, there's going to be carbs, or there's going to be sugar substitutes, something we will cover in a moment. But let's examine the actual vitamins and minerals and everything else on the label here. So they've got a broad spectrum here, and they've got them in ranges which interestingly are all capped at around 100% of DV, the recommended daily value by the US government. This is a smart move. So there's kind of two angles you can choose here when you're making an all-in-one product. So if you look at the most popular all-in-one products in the world, for example, AG1, there are no shortage of people who love it and stay subscribed and get great results and feel great. One of the main comments from their detractors is that, there's not enough, doses in there to do something as claimed in studies, which is a fair criticism if taken in context, but also it's easily taken out of context. For example, AG1, Grüns, all these products, they're daily all-in-one formulas you're meant to take all year round safely. So for example, if someone was trying to fix a vitamin D deficiency, they wouldn't take this conservative 20 micrograms here, which, for those of you playing at home, 20 micrograms equals 800 IUs, international units. They would take a dose more like 5 times this, if not closer to 10 times this, for a short period of time. Then they would stop. So taking this much vitamin D every day is responsible because it can help with preventing deficiencies, but you can safely take it all year round without risking the side effects that come from taking things in mega high doses. Some brands go pretty hard on putting high doses in daily products. For example, IM8, the red version of AG1, basically the copying product. They've made some pretty risky moves with increasing their mineral contents and stuff. So we're not going to go off on a sidetrack here. But in general, if any idiot starts telling you that you should avoid daily all-in-ones because there's not enough vitamins in there, keep in mind this is a daily product. So it's okay to take something daily which has just 100%. And then you've got less than 100% here because these are the minerals. It's very easy to take too much of minerals. For example, men can easily get excess iron levels. Selenium, most people don't have enough, but if you do have too much, the side effects can be pretty nasty. Chromium, again, a lot of people like that for blood sugar, but it's easy to have too much. So again, better to be conservative than to go crazy if you're giving an all-in-one supplement rather than a short-term high-dose supplement. Looking at the forms, so their vitamin A is retinol palmitate. This is a fat-soluble form of vitamin A, which is far superior to what's called beta-carotene, which is in most supplements and something that's known as a vitamin A precursor because your body takes it and turns it into vitamin A, but in that process, you lose a lot of it. So retinol palmitate is much better. That's typically found in fats in animals and also some plants. So it's far better absorbed than beta-carotene. Vitamin C is ascorbic acid. Yes, it gets criticized sometimes, but this is the same form of vitamin C found in nature, such as in oranges, lemons, and so forth. So it's fine. Vitamin D is D3, cholecalciferol. That is great. That's the ideal form of D3. And again, like I said before, 20 micrograms equals 800 IU. A responsible daily dose of most supplements sits around that 1000 IU mark, so this is fine. Vitamin E is D-alpha tocopherol. That's fine. That's one of the main approved forms, and it's not going crazy here with the dose. Thiamine hydrochloride, that's kind of generic thiamine, but that's also fine. B2, just as riboflavin, niacin, niacinamide. So they're not going crazy here with any of the forms, but they're also not doing a bad job. But B6 is pyridoxal 5-phosphate. That is an upgrade. So there's something known as P5P. It's a much better version and much easily absorbed and better absorbed than something called pyridoxine hydrochloride, which is a standard version of B6. So good job by them. Folate, often used in supplements as folic acid, which most people have a very difficult time converting into actual folate. So they've upgraded here to methyl tetrahydrofolate. Try saying that fast 10 times in a row. This is a far superior form of folate that most people can absorb much better and more directly, so they keep more of it. And also, there are some people who have a genetic defect which stops them being able to turn folic acid into folate at all. So 5-MTHF here is the best form of folate to be giving most people. B12 is methylcobalamin. Great. That's also an upgrade. Most supplements have cyanocobalamin, also low-quality synthetic stuff which does not convert so well in the body. Biotin, great. Pantothenic acid, that's just a fancy word for vitamin B5. Now, iron, I do have a little bit of an issue here with. So they've used ferrous fumarate. That is a generic form a lot of supplements use. This is a modest dose, but as soon as you start taking a lot of ferrous fumarate, for example, trying to fix an iron deficiency, it's far more likely to make people get constipation and stomach issues. Just going to have a sip of water here, 1 second. So I would have liked to see something better and easier on the stomach, such as iron bisglycinate. Zinc as zinc citrate, that's fine. Sorry, we missed iodine. Potassium iodine is totally fine. Zinc citrate, also fine. Selenium as sodium selenite, that's cool. Also fine. Copper as copper citrate, this is cool. And you might see copper and wonder why it's in there at all. It is an essential mineral. We don't need a ton of it, but it's good to get. But if you are supplementing with zinc, over time, you can actually cause an imbalance between zinc and copper. So if you want to add copper to a product that has zinc, you help protect people against this imbalance. So this is a very smart move. Manganese, an often neglected mineral that people definitely need. Chromium, also is chromium chloride. That's interesting. Easier to absorb than some other forms of chromium. And molybdenum, a fairly heavy mineral, so it's no surprise they've gone down here to just 24% of DV. So all in the vitamin and mineral content, pretty cool. They've picked the strategy of giving a conservative approach, 100% DV on the vitamins and lower on the minerals. I respect that. And the forms are mostly good. Some are upgraded, like the B6 and B12, and some could do with a better upgrade, such as the iron. But all in all, pretty good. Oh, also vitamin K is in there as well, which is a great addition because that tends to work well in synergy with vitamin D, and a lot of people don't get enough vitamin K. So moving on to what's called the Core Nutrients Blend. This is 8.7 grams of fruits and veggies. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. 8.7 grams is less than 2 teaspoons if you use a kitchen teaspoon. However, these are powdered versions of fruits and vegetables. So they do not have any of the hydration with them, e.g. the water, when you pick them off the tree and so forth. So basically this 8.7 grams here is more like an equivalent of 40, 50 grams of actual real fresh fruits and vegetables. So it is slightly better than it seems. But also the forms they've chosen are quite concentrated in good nutrients. However, the first ingredients are there not just for good nutrition, but they're mainly there for structure. So structure and taste. Tapioca fiber comes from what's called the cassava plant. If you're unfamiliar, the cassava plant basically looks like a sweet potato, but it's very, very starchy, very white, and it's got a ton of fiber. And tapioca fiber, which you can get also as a syrup, which is likely what's used in these gummies, helps it stick together. But also, it's a reasonably easy form of fiber to digest. So it's going to stick the gummies together, make them look good, make them stable on the shelf. But also when you digest them, they're not going to make you feel like crap, like certain other ingredients they could have used. Organic inulin root. So inulin, not to be confused with insulin. Inulin is a fiber that comes from different plants. It's mostly found in chicory root. It's also found in something else called Jerusalem artichoke. It's a very, very great fiber for feeding the good bacteria in your gut. It's a prebiotic fiber. However, it's very dose dependent, so using too much of this can leave you bloated and gassy. So it's good that it's the second fiber and not the first. Moving on to the things that are actually here to have some fun and give you some nutrients. Shiitake mushroom, good stuff. Kale leaf and stalk. Not sure why there's stalk in there. You don't really need that for nutrients, but the leaf is where the action is, so lots of vitamins in there. Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. So we've got a lot of cool, familiar fruits in here, but then we've got more sexy superfoods. So acai, the purple berry that comes from Brazil, ton of antioxidants in there. Acerola cherry, that is one of the highest contents of vitamin C in any fruit on the planet. So that's fantastic. Ton of antioxidants too. Amla, otherwise known as Indian gooseberry, also quite a good source of vitamins and minerals. Cranberry, everyone knows, especially if they're from the US. Goji, otherwise known as Chinese wolfberry, also a very concentrated source of vitamins. Maki berry, that's a purple, pretty looking berry, and it's also got quite a lot of vitamins. Alfalfa, parsley, spinach, and broccoli can all basically be thrown in the same group. They are rich greens filled with mostly vitamins and minerals and extra chlorophyll, the green stuff that comes from plants. And then you've got some veggies in here like tomatoes. Oh, sorry, technically tomatoes are fruit, but you see it in a salad. So the kind of familiar things you think of when you think of vegetables. Spirulina, that is a concentrated source of nutrition, very green, very rich in vitamins. Astragalus, that is a root that people use often for immune system health, so not a bad addition here. Wheatgrass, think of it similar as something like spirulina, but it tastes a little bit better and it's a little bit less concentrated. Chlorella, also an algae, just like spirulina. Carrots, oatgrass, barley grass, again, rich green stuff. Beetroot powder, lemon juice, and finally, apple and mangosteen, another superfood, and then pomegranate. So these are here to give you extra vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, but also a lot of them are complementary to the taste. Like think about strawberries and blueberries and so forth. They're high up on the list for a reason. They're going to complement the taste. Now, something not to ignore on labels is what's called the other ingredients or excipients. These are ingredients that are not necessarily added on the main panel, but they are needed to stick the product together, to make it taste good, to make it stable, and so forth. So cane sugar, that is real sugar, so much healthier than high fructose corn syrup, but it is still sugar because this is a natural product using real sugar. Then water, because it is a gummy, it needs to be hydrated. Pectin, that is a certain fiber that comes from fruits. It's mostly found in apples, but it's found in other fruits too. Also reasonably easy to digest. Natural strawberry flavor. It could be a natural flavor, which is only strawberries. It could also be a bundle of different ingredients, including something synthetic, so we don't know for sure. Citric acid, again, it's a natural preservative. You find it in lemons, but again, in a supplement, it's normally made in a lab. It's not made from lemons. Vegetable juice, usually that's used for color. And then sodium citrate, that's sodium, so just salt, basically. That's going to help as a natural preservative, as also to improve the taste. Now, just quickly, we're going to swap over from the original to the low sugar version, which we just looked at, to the sugar-free version. The reason we're going to do this is because you'll notice the ingredients list is basically exactly the same, but this part, other ingredients, is different. So allulose is a natural sweetener that is also somewhat fibrous and helps improve texture. So they're using this instead of cane sugar. Water again, pectin again, all these things are the same. But then in addition here, something called Reb M, Ono Sweet. So Reb M stands for Rebaudioside M. And some people might have heard of that before because of the natural sweetener herb called stevia. And stevia contains a bunch of compounds called rebaudiosides. These are the things that give sweetness to the product. This branded version of Rebaudioside M, called Ono Sweet, is made by fermenting sugarcane. So it is nothing to do with the stevia plant. And this ingredient is engineered for maximum sweetness with minimal potential aftertaste, something that can turn people off with natural sweetness. So this is a premium sweetener. This is a very good choice. So yeah, that is the rundown of this panel. Thank you for enduring the vitamin part, which may have got a little bit dry at times, but it's important to cover it all. So we've had a look. We've broken things down. What are their strengths? What are some of the areas to be improved, especially, for example, the iron form? So now how could you beat them? Or how could you compete against them if you were so bold as to try? So you've got a few different angles here. You could clean up some things. For example, you change the form of iron from ferrous fumarate to iron bisglycinate. You increase some of these mineral counts slightly. Because again, you're dealing mostly with adults here, not children, so you don't have to be so scared. If you want, you could increase some of the higher output and lower risk vitamins to make it more sexy. For example, you can jack up the biotin It's really good for improving hair health, and it comes with quite a low risk when you're taking in high doses. But you don't want to get too crazy. Something else you could do would be to cut away almost all the vitamins and minerals entirely and beef up this core nutrients blend. So instead of focusing on vitamins and minerals, you could focus on more fruits and vegetables and double down at that angle further. So more amounts of things like the acerola cherry and the pomegranate and the acai. And instead of having this blend here of 8.7 grams, you could quantify it on your label to show people you're getting a nice big dose of some of these fruits and vegetables. For example, like a full 2 or 3 grams of acerola is going to be like a ton of vitamin C. So you could do that. Or you can actually go the opposite way, reduce this core nutrients blend and increase some of the vitamins and minerals and expand this range even further. Or you could niche this down. So instead of being, broad everyday health for everyone, you could start to steer it in a different direction. For example, Grüns makes something else called Nootrops, which is a nootropic product, so something to help with brain power and focus and memory. It's basically gummies that contain functional mushrooms for brain power. What you could do is start steering this in that direction, but not necessarily having to go all the way. So you could keep this vitamin and mineral content here and basically think of it as like a multi-plus. So general daily health covering your bases plus something. So you could do plus beauty. So you have biotin, grapeseed extract, zinc, silica, things that are really good for hair, skin, and nails, and jack those doses up. You could do multivitamin plus focus. So again, you start getting some of those nootropic angles. Multivitamin plus gut health. So you've already got fiber to work with here because you've got this tapioca and the inulin. You could then add some probiotics. It's hard to keep them stable in a gummy, but it is possible. There are things called spore-based probiotics, which are quite stable and they don't really react until they hit your stomach. You could do, immune. You could do energy. You could do sleep. So there are a lot of things you could spin off and do. But in terms of improving what they've currently got, I would say if you wanted to keep more like an all-in-one like they do, but clean it up, just improve some of these forms, increase some of the doses, and consider taking some of these out to quantify them better. So that's all. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of the famous Grüns formula, and I will see you in the next product review video. See you then.